Yes, it's just one more sleep until the Women's Euros begin in Switzerland, where the England Lionesses will be looking to defend their crown, and Wales will be hoping to cause an upset at their first ever European Championships. You can join Adrian Durham and former England international Tash Dowie from 8 p.m. this evening for a special Euros preview show, where they'll be joined by lots of different guests and look ahead to an exciting month of European football.
The European Championships get underway.
Right-footed drive, hits the post, comes off the goalkeeper and in. Spectacular hit from Diani.
Cuts back onto her right foot and finds the net. Vivian Miedema.
An opportunity around the goalkeeper and it's in from Bob Marty.
Hooks up the cross and the header is in from Harder.
Into the penalty area. Gonzalez with the shot, past the goalkeeper and in. A lovely move by Spain.
This ball has fallen for Hegerberg in the penalty area. Plays it square. Frida Marnham taps it in. 2 goals in quick succession for Norway.
And Eva Pyle there to gleefully tap home from inside the 6-yard box.
So Wales, for the first time in their history, have qualified for a major tournament.
Rissing Cannerin from the angle with the shot, and it flashes into the back of the net. Opportunity for Russo inside the penalty area. Finds the corner. Alessia Russo for England.
We'll have live commentaries throughout Women's Euro 2025, including all England, Wales and Spain matches, plus all knockout games. And, should be fantastic.
Yeah.
Uma Gurav is setting off talkSPORT's very own later on this evening. She's popped into the studio before she does so. Hi, Uma.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm just talking about the weather. It is, it's been pretty stinking hot here, and it's really, really hot over in Switzerland as well. So something else for the girls to contend with.
It's really hot. They've actually had to introduce some measures, I think, in some of the stadiums. Like, fans are allowed to take half-litre water bottles in until Friday. They're going to have their rest breaks. I think probably they'll have quite a few. But, yeah, it's really tough because even though the games are at 9 o'clock local time some of the days, they think it's going to be 29 degrees tomorrow, I think, for Switzerland's opener, which is crazy and, tells you just how much they'll have to deal with on top of all the pressure. But like you say, I think they'll all be dealing with the same thing and hopefully it'll cool down next week.
Let's have a look at the groups, because Switzerland's opener, but they don't kick off the tournament, which is what the hosts usually do, isn't it?
Yeah, because they've got 2 games on the opening day. It's actually Iceland and Finland who get us going at 5 o'clock UK time tomorrow. That will be a really closely matched game, I think, actually, in some ways, because Iceland and Finland are in this group along with Switzerland and Norway, which I'd say is the most open group there. There's no, I suppose, big hitters in there. Norway maybe used to be one of the giants of women's football, but they've really dropped off recently. Iceland, Finland, honestly couldn't call it. I think if you absolutely forced me to, I'd say Iceland would be the slight favourites heading into that one. And then later on, of course, that's another tough game when Switzerland finally get going against Norway. They'll have their home support. So it'll be interesting to see whether that works for them, because of course England won the Euros on home soil last time. The time before that, the Dutch won it on home soil. So a bit of a pattern developing.
But
not sure about
different level, a different level, isn't it? You know,
I'd be very surprised.
Norway have got the only English coach in the tournament, haven't they?
They do. Gemma Granger, who women's football fans will recognise, of course. She used to be the Wales manager, but she got given the job at Norway. It's a huge job, and it's interesting, actually. I was listening earlier, I think somebody actually said in front of her once, there's no big hitters in this group, and I think she really took that to heart, and now she's going into this thinking, I really have to
because they were one of the big nations of women's football.
I mean, to win the Euros twice and then win the World Cup, the kind of talent you have to do that. And it's not like they don't have amazing players among their ranks. There's Caroline Graham-Hansen, great player, and Guru Wrighton from Chelsea. They've got some really good players in here. I think they just have to live up to it. I mean, Ada Hegerberg, of course. Yeah. They just have to live up to their expectations, and this is the group for them to do that for sure.
So they've got that history. So what happened? Did the investment just stop? Did the development just stop? What happened?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? When you look at so many, I think, of these women's teams, is there the sustained backing from your country, and sometimes that's about success, and sometimes it's about just belief. And we've seen it with the Lionesses here, right? I mean, it's taken so much for people to get behind the Lionesses, and even now in the last couple of years since the Euros, it feels a little bit now like people are sort of starting to doubt them, actually, and you can see how quickly like WSL attendances have fallen because maybe we didn't win the World Cup, we weren't at the Olympics. So I think football fans are a bit fickle, aren't they? Perhaps.
They always are,
Group B is Belgium, Italy, Portugal, and Spain. Well, we expect Spain to go through.
Yeah.
We were just sort of saying off here, Italy not in great nick. So would you expect Portugal or Belgium to go through with them?
I do expect it to be Belgium or Portugal. What's interesting about that is that they played each other. They were in the same Nations League group as England. You might remember England beating Portugal 6-0, of course, recently at Wembley. But Belgium and Portugal beat each other once each in the Nations League. So that's a really tight one. Could come down to the wire, I think, there. I think Belgium, actually, I think are going to slightly edge it. They're my kind of surprise team, I think, in that group, because Portugal are missing their key striker, Kiki Nazareth. She's been included in the squad, strangely enough, but I don't think she's going to be fit to start any of these games. So I think Spain and Belgium, if Spain don't top that group, it'll be the shock of the tournament.
So it'll be one of those where they're hoping that she might be fit maybe for the latter stages if they get through. Group C, Denmark, Germany, Poland, Sweden. You'd expect Germany to go through, and we could end up playing Germany, couldn't we, potentially? In the first knockout stage.
Exactly. So if England get through, it will either be the winner or the runner-up of that group. So you'd expect it to be Germany or Sweden. Obviously, hopefully, England top the group, so maybe then we're looking at Sweden there. Denmark have a possibility, I think, to upset the order there. Sweden are one of those teams who make it to the semi-final of every single tournament and then just can't win. I mean, we saw them get beaten 4-0 by England. That famous Alessia Russo back heel was against Sweden, of course. I don't know if it's maybe Sweden's time. They're kind of due a big win here. They're flying under the radar a little bit. I think so are Germany, actually. I think Germany, we were talking about Germany earlier, weren't we?
They've lost their big midfielder, haven't they?
They have, and obviously they lost Alexandra Pop, who's retired. But they've got some good players. They obviously beat England 4-3 at Wembley not that long ago, so I think they're dangerous.
Group D, England, France, Netherlands and Wales. And as Charlie was saying earlier on, we know France and Netherlands are strong. And any domestic dust-up between Wales and England, there's a lot riding on it.
Especially if there's something on it,
That'll be tough.
Exactly,
so it is a tough old group, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. That one's being billed as the group of death. But I think actually when you look at every single team, they've all had a little bit of turmoil heading into this tournament, because France have had this crazy situation where this new manager's come in, Laurent Bonadai, and he's dropped Wendy Renard, who's their captain, Eugenie Le Sommet, who's their all-time top goal scorer, and Ken Zadali, who's like this veteran midfielder. And it's caused like uproar in France. We think, with Mary Earps and Fran Kirby and Millie Bright leaving, that we've had a tough time of it. Theirs has been huge. Right. So actually, we don't know what kind of France we're going to see. Their coach quoted Einstein, and he basically said, we've never made it to the final, and if it's insanity to keep things the same, you have to change things, otherwise nothing's going to change. Right. If that works, it's genius suddenly, right? But if it doesn't, then everybody's suddenly like, how have you left these three players behind? So I think that's actually going to be a really interesting group. But I would say, I think France and England are going to get through.
Excellent. Well, look, safe journey, Uma.
Thank you very much.
We'll speak to you while you're out there.
Six games is all they've got to win. 6 games in a row.
It's easy when you put it like that.
Yeah, that's true. It's nothing, is it?
Nothing.
6 games in a row. Plenty of live commentaries. England, Spain and Wales and all the latter stages from our top team out at the Women's Euro. Still